Today we are going to cover why finding a profitable business niche in this economy is a must. Let me just quickly introduce myself. My name is Jackie Burgoa. I was recently nominated by Forbes.com as 30 female entrepreneurs to follow on Twitter and all top Latinx news. I have a degree from UC Berkeley and a master's degree in business. I have worked in Singapore, the U.S., and Bolivia, where I'm originally from. This is the reason why I exist. My two boys, my mom and my dad. And for the past 16 years, I own and operate my own business. 10 years I run as an offline business, just your typical brick and mortar. I have an employee benefits, and we administer employee benefits. And for the past 7 years, I run it virtually. That means I operate my entire business in the clouds. For those that don't know what in the clouds is, it just pretty much is it's a metaphor for the internet. This means I don't have a physical location, but instead I operate it entirely virtually, and I manage my business remotely. We're going to spend a few seconds here because this is a very important concept for you to understand. It will play a major role on the rest of the presentation, and you will see the connection between this cloud business and niche, and why finding a profitable niche market is so critical, and the connection is huge. So let me spend a few seconds here. When I say I operate my entire business in the clouds, I don't mean a website. Obviously, my website's in the clouds. But what I mean, I literally run 100% of my accounting, my financials in the clouds. My tax accountant, my accountant, it lives in New York. I never met the gentleman. He's been running and closing my books, filing my taxes for the past 5 years, totally in the clouds. My sales and marketing is totally in the clouds. My customer service. Back in my offline times, I used to have about 23 people. We cover about an entire penthouse floor, and I would say 17 of them, give and take, were customer reps. We had like 21 phone lines and obviously a receptionist. And it was crazy. And today, because I'm in the clouds, I'm able to, with one person, cover the same or more than 17 people used to do it. And believe it or not, when I tell people that I was able to reduce my operational costs by 90% by going offline to 100% virtual or work in the clouds, people think I'm making this up, that I'm lying, and it's the honest truth. Now, I'm going to be very honest with you. When I made the transition, a lot of clients ditched me. I mean, they just couldn't understand why I was not going to come and see them anymore. You know, it's been about 5 years since the last time I saw a client. Actually, I think I saw one client in 5 years. And it was a hard transition. When you're a small business, you know, every client really, really counts. And at one point, I had to sit down and be honest with me. Do I let this client go, knowing the financial impact? But the savings was so huge by making this transition from the offline to the virtual world that it was worth the risk. And it's ironic because, you know, 7 years ago when I started this whole thing, nobody spoke about the word cloud. It didn't even exist. I think this is a term that came mainstream about a year or two ago. You know, back then when people asked me, well, so what do I do? I'm like, well, I have a virtual business. It became closest to make understand what I did. And it was an insurance agency, employee benefits, a typical brick and mortar offline service business just like anybody else. And you know, now there's just so much stuff out there. Back then, I had to figure out every step of the way. I mean, I probably am the largest consumer of the For Dummies books. I mean, I literally have stacks and stacks and stacks of For Dummies books. And so, you know, human resources and what have you, everything. And for those of you that have a business, and as you will see how the connection goes to being to having a niche market. But those of you that already are in business, if you are thinking, well, you shouldn't be thinking, you should be going in the clouds, and you will understand in a few minutes why you have to start making this transition. Is don't do it all at once. There's one advice I can give you is take it one step at a time. In other words, take on probably the largest cash flow consuming part of your business. In my case, it was customer service. Human resources were just killing me. My payroll was just killing me. It was eating all my profits. You know, people are expensive. So what I did is I tackled that one first. And it might take you 3 months, 5 months, 6 months to make that transition. But once it becomes part of your daily life, because it is very hard for your employees or for you to go from an offline type of business where, you know, you're so used to running around like a chicken without a head, shuffling papers, to all of a sudden to this digital world, everything's streamlined, everything's efficient, and you know, you realize what used to take you 8 hours now it takes you literally 15 seconds. All of a sudden you have all this time in your hands, and you go, whoa, you know, what do I do now? So your employees will have a tough time adapting, and so all this stuff is you want to tackle one project at a time. So you start with the one that consumes the most, and slowly transition to the second one. So if you decide customer service, virtualize your customer service, digitize it, you know, put it on the clouds, and once it's part of your everyday life, then and only then take on the next project. And that is the only way you'll be able to make that transition. That's if you already have a business. If you don't, then, you know, if you're starting from scratch, even better. But for those that are more technology driven, or you know, they want to know what cloud computing really is, it's a model for enabling convenient on-demand network access to a shared pool of computer resources. So what does this mean? It just means that you don't need to know the technology. You don't need to be a geek. You don't need to know HTML. You don't need to do anything. All it means, somebody else is running all the resources, servers, technology, whatever, and you just sit on your little smartphone or your computer and you run your business. What, to give an example, cloud computer, Facebook, Twitter. You just go, log in, register, boom, you're there. That's basically all it means. So this is a good time to remind you at the end of the seminar, go to twitter-winner.com. I am giving away one access to my course, Virtual Business Dashboard, How to Build a Business in the Cloud. This is this is just text and image course, and what I did basically with this course, I brain dumped all what I did during those 7 years to convert my offline to my online business. And what I did is I just broke it down into divisions or departments. So it's 9 modules, but really in reality each module deals with one back office, like, you know, communications or human resources or marketing or accounting. So, and what I did is I jot down how I did it, and it's really a tactical to do. You know, click here, do this, now go here, now do this. It's not this strategic planning in any way, shape, or manner. Although I did put in a strategic part in there, but it just basically it's a brain dump on how I went from offline to online. And,
I love it. I love it. What a wonderful gift. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and really it's what took me 7 years to figure it out and thousands of hours, it's there. Sometimes a bit overwhelming, and for whoever wins it, make sure you do not try to cover it. This is not a course where, you know, in 9 weeks do 9 modules in any way, shape, or manner. This is a course where you say, okay, now I'm going to work on customer service. So you tackle the customer service module. Now I'm going to work on my accounting. You tackle, this is like I said before, you transition a department at a time. And then once you're done, you go back to whatever it is you need to work on.
I love it. I love it. And actually our Twitter winner was Jim Anderson 23, who said, oh yeah, here we go, day 3 of the New Life event, who is a social media and e-commerce newbie and a musician and a teacher, and I think he's going to really enjoy that education. So thank you so much, and make sure to go claim your prize on twitter-winner.com. So I'll go back and mute myself. Thank you.
Okay. Sure. So let's move on. And so what does that have to do with finding a profitable business niche in this economy? What does cloud business and all that stuff have to do? And, you know, I'm sure you're going like, hey, I didn't come to learn about that, so I came to learn. Well, you'll see the connection in a minute. There are 3 questions I'm going to try to answer today. There are, what is a niche market, why find a niche market, and how to find one. Now, I'm going to be honest, we have time limitations, so I'm going to spend most of my time on question number 2, but it's hard to understand question number 2 unless you understand question number 1. So let's move on with question number 1. What is a niche market? Well, a market is a community of people who share a common interest. So let's take an example, golf. A lot of people can relate to this. A common interest could be tournaments. So people that enjoy golf and they have a common interest in tournaments speak their own language. So they might talk about the Masters or the charity golf or professional golf or celebrity golf, whatever it is. If you take a look at yourself and whatever your passion is or whatever your market is, and see where you are, what your common interest is, and watch what you talk to each other, you will see that if you bring an outsider, they don't have a clue what you're saying. And this is important to know, because then you will realize, oh, there's a niche. This just to give you an idea. So a niche is a subset of a market that relates to a specific topic. Let's go back to the golf idea. So you have golf news, golf equipment, golf tournaments, and so on and so forth. You get the idea. So each one of this is a separate niche. So potentially a market has thousands and upon thousands of niches. Okay, so let's start with why you came this morning. Well, 10 o'clock in the morning is early on a Sunday morning, I assume, so thank you for being here. So why find a profitable niche? This is my hand drawing. Believe it or not, I have an undergraduate degree in architecture, but you can see I have forgotten a lot of my early drafting training. But anyway, today we communicate out of laptops and desktops. By 2020, we are going to be using smartphones in cloud computing. Now you understand why I spent some time in cloud computing. So because I wanted you to understand what it was and how it applies to niche, finding a profitable niche market. What does that mean? Well, today companies hire employees who work on their desktops and their laptops. By 2020, companies will use freelancers, people who work from their homes, just like I do. Freelancers who work from smartphones in cloud computing. Now, consumers won't be able to tell the difference. Consumers think they're calling big company, and in reality, when they make plays like, oh, they're talking to a freelancer that's working out of their house. I mean, it happens to me right now. People call and they don't know that I'm, watching my kids in the pool, or that my daughter-in-law and I are shopping for baby clothes, or that Jessie, the lady who manages my customer service, is in Georgia with 3 babies. Of course, we have rules and restrictions when it comes to sound and and background noise and what have you. And so, but realistically speaking, even today, when you call a business, unless you pick up maybe the Indian accent or the Spanish accent like mine, you really don't even know you're talking to somebody out of their house. And this is so important to understand. What does this have to do with niche markets? Well, by 2020, companies will outsource to the best niche experts. That means that those that specialize in niches, those that become expert in niches, or those that become market leaders in certain niches will get the big chunk of the pie. Small businesses who take advantage of this smartphones, computer, and all this new technology will definitely take the biggest chunk of all these transitions, because now the lines are blurred. You can't tell, even today, you can't tell if you're talking to somebody at their house or if you're talking to somebody sitting in a big office. This means in the next decade, there will be a huge abundance of cheap and accessible information, and the computing power is just going to keep growing. What this means is by 2020, the global markets will adopt the services. So whether you are in Tierra del Fuego or you are sitting somewhere in an African village, or you are it doesn't matter where you are, all these people will start adopting these technologies, smartphones and cloud computing. It will create a connected global market and an economic growth never seen before. Therefore, small businesses that will succeed will be those businesses who become niche experts. Those small businesses who adopt and adapt these new technologies and participate in these unprecedented global economies that are coming our way. This is the reason why in the new economy, you need to find a profitable niche market. It will be the difference between success and failure. 3, how do you find a profitable niche market? Well, we can spend hours on this topic alone, but because we have time limitations, let me just tell you quickly how you do it. These are keywords and phrases that you basically type in the search engines. Obviously, it's just the beginning. That's just the beginning to give you an idea what a niche market is. So just to get you started to find your niche market, and due to time limitations, you go to Google and type keyword tool. And as you can see, I think it's in position 2. It says keyword tool, Google AdWords. This keyword tool you find whatever word or phrase or sentence that you're interested in. It'll give you a rundown on a list of potential niches. From there on, you will need to obviously find who your customer is. You have to learn to understand who your customer, what their problem is. Is this niche too competitive for you to get into, or it's not? I mean, there's a lot of other pieces to the puzzle, but this is a very good starting point. Shona, so you know, I will be soon launching a training that walks you step by step on how to find a profitable business niche. I'm really trying to make it free for everyone. I'm not quite sure yet, so I don't want to make promises, but that's my goal right now. And if you want to if you want to find out more about it, just go to my blog, JackieBiz.com. I will post it there when it goes live. Or I have a site, eatsmallbusinessideas.com. If you just enter your name and email, you will get an email when the course goes live. And hopefully, if you have any questions, Shauna?
Sorry, my mouse didn't want to work to put the unmute button on. It's absolutely phenomenal, and I think what's really important is that we have a lot of people involved with e-commerce, and I think it's important to maybe discuss why it's so important to find your niche in e-commerce as well. Not just, I know we're talking a little bit more about experts in the small business and finding your niche, but in e-commerce, how important it is to find that niche as well.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, just about everything, you name it, it's just incredible.
Mm-hmm. It's so very, very important. So do you guys have questions on different ways that you can find a profitable niche, how you can go about doing that? I mean, the other part of it is that one of the things you have to look at, and I'm sorry I have to put this in there, but when you're talking about e-commerce, you're going to be spending time talking about it. And if you were here right before this webinar, you will remember that the reason why Jackie landed on the list on Forbes.com of top 30 entrepreneurs to follow is because she started a blog where she started talking about what she knew, what she loved, and what she was passionate about. And so, one of the things I get worried about people is they see, oh, well, so-and-so is making $100,000 a month selling wedding favors, so I'm going to do it too. And so now, you have no idea what a wedding favor is or what anybody wants or anything about it, but you're going to do it, and you don't even care what they are. And you know, I would love to hear your opinion on being passionate about the businesses and knowing your industry.
Well, absolutely. See, in this new economy, in the past, people used to go what we call it horizontal. They would just go into a lot of niche markets and try to succeed at all of them. Back then it worked because you didn't have the competition on the global economies that you have now. But in today's market, really the way to grow a business is to go vertical. First, you got to test it first if you have a chance of having a profitable, and that's a whole different topic, how to test it. But, you know, once you test you have a profitable niche, then you go vertical, you grow it. And the only way you can grow something is, A, if you really love it, if you really enjoy it. And, you know, like I was watching the webinars yesterday, and I thought at one point, first I thought, oh, I want to see what people are doing, maybe to get an idea of what I want to present and what have you. And then I stopped and said, no, you know, I'm going to do exactly who I am, what I do, and what I believe. So I'm going to attend this webinar just for the information. And that is very important because then you start developing your brand. In branding yourself is critical, and that's how market leadership, you become a market leader. Because if you're just like everybody else, then you don't stand from the crowd.
Absolutely. And I don't know if you were here yesterday when I was saying that you so need to be yourself and not be worried about people not liking you because, you know, screw them if they don't like you, you know.
As a matter of fact, you know, you don't want them. You don't want them to be part of you because they will always, of your tribe, because they will always find something wrong with you. You always want to people that you have kind of synergy, that want to hear you, that want, you know, in the offline world, you know, you're always begging for, you know, you're trying to shove products down clients, you're trying to down services. In the online, in this new economy, that's dead, that's gone. In this economy is, you know, you deal with people that you want to hear what they have to say, and they want to hear what you have to say. It's not about shoving products down anybody's throat anymore. It's about finding that common ground. I'll help you with my knowledge. You help me with yours. And really, that's where everything's heading to.
You know, and I honestly believe it's heading that way in e-commerce as well. You know, and I see this more and more because when people are going and they're using those QR codes, they're going to find information, and they're not necessarily. I'm seeing this trend, and I don't want to like say this big time. You know, this is absolutely the way it is. But so I'm just going to put this out there. This is my information. This is my own opinion. But they're taking maybe those CNET reviews or some of those other reviews, and they're going, okay, I'll consider that, but I want real, honest, regular people reviews.
Yes.
I want somebody who has that phone and is using it. I want real people, and I think that they want to do business with real people, not the CNETs or not those big companies, because we're connecting more and more with people.
Yes, and that's, you know, you nailed it, because if you look what's happening today, look at Google and look at, let's say, Facebook. You know, you have two competing markets that, you know, Google is the algorithm, the mathematical part, you know, what has relevance to make it to the top of the search engines. On the other hand, you have Facebook that's about people's opinion, the human part, the human side, what people have to say, what they like, what they don't like. And the next decade, you're going to see huge competition between these two philosophies. You know, the mathematical side and the human side. And that's what Facebook is taking off like crazy, because people want to say what they want to say, and they want to be heard.
And you know that you pointed out something so wonderfully. People just want to be heard. I remember back one of the jobs I had about customer service, and they said when people are complaining, the biggest thing that they want is just to be heard. And if you just acknowledge them that I hear you, I understand. So I love that you're saying people just want to be heard. That's so important. And when you're out there on social media and you're trying to connect with your audience, please remember what she just said. People are trying to be heard. They're not trying to listen. They're trying to be heard. Very, very important.
And Shauna, that is exactly how you find a profitable niche market. If you listen to your crowd, if you listen to what they're telling you, they are telling you exactly how to structure your niche market. I guess the best way I can say that, I can relate to that, is if I give an example. In the near future, I'm very near, hopefully in the next 6 months, I'm launching a whole service that has to do with small businesses. And the whole idea was to, and I use, if you guys have LinkedIn is a gold mine. It's a gold mine to talk to people, you know, to post your ideas, to ask them questions. You know, what do you think? You know, I launched a survey about, I don't know, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, maybe a little longer. And I went to this woman in LinkedIn and said, listen, you know, I'm developing this service and I want to hear what you have to say. It was a 10-question survey, and I wrote a really, you know, I think it was like a 5-6 page report on a thought that I had to do with, you know, cloud business and virtual business. You know, in exchange to thank you, you can download this report, but I just want to hear what you have to say. And I have 10 questions. Let me tell you, it was just the most incredible experience I have ever gone through. Just to hear the honest, number one, I was honest with them. I told them exactly why I wanted them to participate, and I wanted to I told them exactly what I was trying to accomplish with this. And the response was just so overwhelming. I had so many responses, and I'm developing, like I said, in the next 6 months, I'm launching an entire service just and only based on the survey and on the feedback of this women. And in the past, you know, and this is really, really, really important that you guys understand. In the past, we used to borrow money or, you know, save money and, you know, maybe and rent an office or hire employees, buy the computers and set it up, and then you open the doors for to the public. That's dead. That's gone. That's backwards in today's economy. In today's economy, you first test the market. You first find out who your customer is. You have to understand who that customer is inside and out. You have to understand their pain. You have to understand, I mean, you have to understand your customer better than the customer understands herself or himself. Once you figure it out, A, who your customer is, and B, that you can make money, and there's, again, this course I'm telling you about will cover in detail how you go about doing it. Then once you figure out, oh, this is what the problem is, then and only then, you build the business or the product or whatever to adapt to that customer, not the other way around. So does that make sense, Shauna?
It makes perfect sense, and me and Mom are kind of in the background going that we would love your course. We need more of this, and so please, please, please keep us in contact when you do that, and so we can pass it on to people, because this is exactly what more people need. This is exactly
Absolutely.
What we need, and I would love to share that.
Yeah, and it's the difference between failure and success, because I mean I see small businesses go, oh, I'm going to open a furniture store, or I'm going to go and open a dry cleaning store, or whatever. And I ask them, you know, I was participating in a really interesting seminar the other day, and this woman comes and she goes, well, I have this A, B, and C. I can't remember. I think it was purses, if my memory does not fail, and I want to make $1 million in a year. I go, okay, no problem. So tell me who your customer is. And she kept going on and on about her. And I go, you know, I'm not interested in you. I don't want to hear about you. I know you do awesome purses, but I'm not really interested in what you have to hear. I want to know why somebody would come and buy your purses. What makes you different? What problem do you solve? If you can figure out down to the nitty-gritty what problem you can solve, you got yourself a business. Bottom line.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so so very, very, very true. And I mentioned this last night, and I think I worry my mother worries that I will offend people. But, you know, having that mission statement, having that customer in mind, having that customer persona of who you're trying to help, whenever I think of who I'm trying to help, I keep a mental image of myself being single and alone and 2 children and barely scraping by and eating, you know, macaroni and cheese. And I try to think of every customer as that customer, simply so that when I think of, you know, one of our major customers is in every single mall in America, I treated them like they were me. that I didn't go and say, oh, you're a franchise and you're in every mall, I'm going to charge you $100,000 to do your site.
Yeah.
I charged them the same amount that I charged the single mom who came to me and said, I need help with my website. And I think, I know mom's worried I offend people. And if I say, you know, I keep saying the single mom and you're a dad or you're a grandmother or anything like that, it's me trying to keep in mind that persona and that target customer and who I'm trying to help. And I think that that's important. And tell me, is that wrong to do, or do you feel like that's the right thing to do, to keep that person in mind when you're making decisions?
Shauna, you are, I could say, probably close to 1,000,000% correct. As a matter of fact, I have a picture of my target customer pasted to my computer, so you know. So every time I talk to somebody, or I think, well, I'm writing a course, or I'm writing a blog post, or I'm writing anything that I do, I look at this picture and I look at this person in the eyes. Why? Because I feel it. I have been there. I went from, you know, being this ultra super successful, you know, white picket fence, upper middle class to, you know, going through a vicious divorce, sad transition, single mom with 2 kids trying to make the transitions, and man, I feel the pain. I know what they go through. So when I write my stuff, when I go through and you know, and it's interesting that you say this, because when I built my business and I built everything that I'm building, it's because my goal in life is for women to work out of their homes so their kids will never, ever, ever have to grow on their own, so they spend 60, 70 hours locked in a business like I did. I mean, for years and years and years, I used to work 60, 70, 80 hours in my business. I was trapped. I was trapped, and my kids were being raised by nannies and maids, and it hurt me, and it hurt me. So, you know, my goal in life is, that's my mission. If my mission is I can get every mom to work out of their homes so they can watch their kids in the pool, I can die in peace, honest to God truth.
And my mission was to help other moms do the same, because I had to basically kind of take my kids, like, without them even knowing that we were leaving, so that we could get out of there. And I didn't want to put them with other people and mess them up even more emotionally, and I had to be there for them. And so here's my question to you, though. As your business has changed, obviously, you're in Forbes Top 30. But yet you still, you know, I'm sure you're dealing with major corporations, you're dealing with small businesses, medium businesses, you know, you're dealing with all kinds of businesses. You're still keeping that target mom in your writings, no matter who you're writing to, though. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. 1,000%. And everything that is coming the next year, and you will see a lot coming from me, because I spent probably 2 years understanding my customer, and I have to understand me to understand my customer in a lot of ways, because if any of you have a chance to read the book that's called Influence, what's the name of the author? I think everybody has to read that book, Influence. You know, trying to be something where you just don't fit in, or it just makes no sense. I mean, me trying to go and try to find it in teenagers, young male teenagers, there's just no synergy. So if you ever find where you will have the most influence and where you're passionate about, read that book. I think it's just absolutely critical. And it took me about a year, maybe 2 years to get it down to the, you know, to the call of the socks. I mean, I understand my customer. I feel my customer. I know my customer, you know. And everything that you will see in the next year is targeted to those people. And I can guarantee you that if you're not my customer, most likely you wouldn't even know. You would probably not have heard of me.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's important. And so, again, for anybody here, when I say, you know, I'm trying to help that mom, it's not that I'm not trying to help you too. It's just that when I write my letters, and when I did my webinar last night, I wasn't thinking, you know, when I gave you guys, like, step by step how I built this business, I wasn't thinking, okay, so everybody's here is because now our customers are like more of a medium-sized business that have their own people, so I'm just going to show you this is what you do. I took it as, you're a mom, and I'm going to show you everything from, like, concept to figuring out what to do, to all of this, because I keep that in mind. And I thank you, because that is something I struggle with. Do I still keep that way? And I want our customers to understand that even though your business grows, your customer may grow. I think it's important to understand that the entire reason why your business has grown is because of who you were trying to help and they're falling in love with you because of who you're trying to help. And I see so many people out there that are like, oh, I'm getting bigger and I'm getting all these bigger people, so I should totally change all of my focus. No, that's why they fell in love with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you know, the old days where we try to be everything to everybody are gone. They're dead. And I think I proved it to you with all the data that I show you. Now, that data, I didn't make it up. That data came from hardcore data. It was on a 2020 report that came out, that I got it through Forbes.com. And, you know, I mean, just talk about a widget company. You know, we used to have widget A, B, C, D. You go into a shop and they had 1,000 widgets for everybody and everything. That's, you know, even when I started my business, I had no idea if my customer was a 100-man group, 2,000-man group, or the little 5, 10-man group mom and pop. I had no idea. And as year went, and it was hard to let go. It was very hard to let go. But as I went on, I realized where my market was. You know, my market was mainly the nonprofits, and I realized I was being very successful. That's what most of my profits were coming from. And it took me a little while to realize, you know, hey, that's where the synergy is. And slowly, I started walking away from all the other markets. And I understood the nonprofit industry, and that's why I'm still in business, even though we've gone through the most incredible recessions, inflations, and you name it. I'm still here. It's because I was able to understand my market. You know, this is in the employee benefits, obviously.
Exactly. And knowing your target and being real and being who you are. And if you want to know who that national franchise is, then if you go to our portfolio, it's like the first picture, and they're a big franchise. And you know how we got them? Because they heard me and how much I was helping all these small businesses, and they fell in love with who I was, and they liked, knew, and trusted me. So they gave me their business. So, and then all these other companies did.
Now, Shauna, you bring a very interesting point, and I guess this was part of my presentation. Big businesses. I mean, we are, and I keep telling my kids, I have my oldest son is in third year college in international business, and I tell him, and my younger one is 16, and he's actually entering college, believe it or not. But I tell them, you know, every day I go, you know, you guys are positioning yourselves. You are sitting in probably the most unbelievable, incredible time in history since the turn of the century, since the Industrial Revolution. The stuff that's coming our way in the next decade is so mind-boggling that if you understand and play your cards right, you will probably not see, you know, a decade like this, probably in your lifetime. And I guess the point I'm trying to make is, I lost train of thought there. We were talking about customer
finding customers. But you understand, it's being you. That we had so many people last night that were just so scared to be themselves, worried that they wouldn't sound professional, or worried about this, worried about this. And I guess I love having you here because it's telling people that be yourself, be who you are, let people fall in love with you, and that's so important. So is it okay if I start asking you a bunch of questions from everybody? Oh, I love you. Okay, so here's our first one, and by the way, I think BZ fella Jerry said something that was so very important, said something about being excited about what you sell keeps you positive and willing to go on even when you don't really want to. And I so believe that, Jerry, because there were times when I was struggling, and you know, I thought, I've got $2 to feed my kids tonight. What am I doing? I need to go get a full-time job. I need to stop doing this. I need to stop living on this pipe dream. I need to, you know, my kids need me to feed them better. But I loved what I was doing. I was staying positive about what I was doing. I was passionate. I knew I could make it better. And you're right. That's why I stayed excited about it. So, all right. Here's our question. I think it's helpful. I'm interested in finding out how to find freelance service niche. Where's the best place to market your service? Elance.com, Guru.com?
You know, that's an interesting question. It really depends a lot what you do, where you go, who you are. You know, places like, you know, believe it or not, like Mechanical Turk, you would thought, Mechanical Turk uses people from overseas. They don't. They're mainly Americans. You know, it just depends what you do. Each one has different markets. So let's say if you want to do just tasks very quickly, you're in the subway and you want to earn $5, you know, maybe Mechanical Turk is your way to go. Just tasks to in and out. If you want to become, you know, more e-coder now was renamed what e-worker, I believe. You know, ODES is wonderful, especially like for applications, computer, ELANs for writing. So it really depends. What I suggest is that you try all of them and see where, again, we go back to the original statement. Test, test, test. Not just test your business, test your market. Because it's impossible really to know until you start getting feedback. Try all 4 of them and you're going to start seeing, oh, this one fits me and what I do better. But until you actually test it, you will never know.
And here's something else you might want to consider. If you go to some of these elance and guru.com, you're going to get extremely frustrated because somebody's going to come up right behind you and underbid you every time. So maybe let's say your freelance niche is that you are a wonderful virtual assistant. So what is the things that you help people do? Are you a virtual assistant that's really good at organizing appointments? Then start your own blog about how to properly organize appointments. What are the right tools that you should be using to organize appointments? Because I'm a busy woman named Shauna Siegel. I need help organizing appointments. I just now found your blog. I just liked you. I just fell in love with you. I now trust you. And now I'm going to call you and say, take over this because I can't do it anymore. So there's a total new way to market yourself and to make yourself somebody else where I'm falling in love with you and I'm not comparing prices with other people. I don't care what your prices are. I want you.
And that's exactly what market leadership is all about. People come to you not for your price, but about who you are. And that was the whole, the presentation was, you know, how to become a market leader and how important it is. It is because exactly what you just said.
That's so important. When you try to do it based on price, you're out of here next year. You know, you're out of business. You're out of business.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
Yeah. And Michelle, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry to interrupt you, but you know what you're saying is so critical. And let me tell you, statistically speaking, why it's so critical. In the next decade, hold on a second. As a matter of fact, I think I have the actual statistics here. I think something like 20 million women will come into the market. Okay, hold on a second.
While you do that, I'm going to, Michelle made a really great point. I think it's helpful to understand clarity in a niche. When you're doing keyword research, 10,000 hits doesn't mean you're going to get 10,000 visitors for that keyword or that 100% of those searches are truly relevant to your niche. So really understand that. Really understand that. Great advice, Michelle. Thank you for sharing that.
Okay, here I go. The next decade, 870 million global women who have not previously participated in the mainstream economy will start their own business. 870 million. Only about 47, I believe it is, are from the Western countries such as the U.S., Canada, and Europe. That means you have massive number of business people coming into the global economy from the developing world. So if you just do it on price, these people are going to outprice you 10 to 1 every single time.
Every single time. That like, know, and trust. You know what I want you guys to do right now? I want you to get one of your little stickies, and I want you to write down like, know, trust, and I want you to stick it on your monitor, and I want everything that you do, everything you put out there is that you're being out there so that people get to like, know, and trust you. Not to sell people. No matter what business you're in, you are not here to sell. You're not here to get people to purchase. You are there to get people to like, know, and trust you. And you do that by sharing information. Chris wants to know, what's the research process you go through once you have determined some possible niches?
Oh, the process number 1, I do market research when it comes to keywords. That is absolutely the number 1, the beginning of everything is this keyword, are there people looking for these keywords? Are they looking for this niche? Then step number 2, how is the competition? Is this keyword too competitive? Am I going to be able to crack it? If I have a company that has page 1 on Google, position 1 through position 10, you know, why bother? I'm not going to crack it. Move on. So once I figure out, hey, this keyword, people are looking for this keyword, for this key phrase. B, hey, the competition is not so bad. I can crack it. C, I start testing. So to give you an idea, right now, as a matter of fact, I'm testing one niche market, and I built 10 micro niche sites, 10. So I know for a fact that 8 will crash and burn for sure. 1 probably will break even, and I use, you know, stuff like maybe AdSense or maybe affiliate products to test the market, to see if people will buy. And this is how you test buying, you know, people, if they're not willing to click on AdSense, what makes you believe they're going to buy your product? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So this is how I test. I don't develop any products. I don't do anything whatsoever. So it usually depends. And I test the micro niches because you can get very quick results. Like within 3 months, you can start seeing it. You can start seeing which are the winners and which are the gold nuggets and which are not. And then I ditch the 8, you know, and once I get that gold nugget, I start going vertical with it. So the next thing while this is going on, while this 3 months are going on, getting feedback, getting, you know, and I do my online marketing, my articles, and, you know, the whole, everything that has to do with online marketing, driving this micro niche test to the top of the search engine so I can start getting feedback. Then what I do, when I start seeing the gold nugget, I go to LinkedIn. And I start getting feedback. You know, tell me, surveys, tell me. So what do you think? So and I have the same 10 questions every time. But, you know, tell me, just tell me. I want to hear you. I want to hear you. So once I have my gold nugget and I understand my customer and I know who my customer is, then I just say, okay, now let's start with the business model. And I start drafting my business model. And again, I have a template of how to do that. So once I have my business model, I start testing. Is this the right business model? By then, there's no employees, there's no money spent, there's 0 cost, everything is just time and testing. So I test the business model. Does this work? Maybe yes, maybe no, and then I start tweaking my business model. And then I have my business model, and then I launch the product, which is the one that you're seeing, all of it that's coming is coming from this entire process.
Wow. This is all great information, and if you're like, okay, I can't write down fast enough or I don't remember any of this, for those of you just joining, I put this in a recording on video that not only you can download, but I also do it in audio. Not only that you can download, but I also put it on iTunes. And I put it on iTunes where you get 1 or 2 a week that you can automatically download and not overwhelm yourself. This is great information that you want to keep listening to it. This is another awesome question, and that's something that people wonder all the time. How narrow should a niche be, especially like e-commerce? For example, would it be better to make a niche on just cutting boards or a niche on kitchen utensils?
You don't have a clue until you test it. Until you do the market research, because you know what? Maybe people are not looking for cutting boards. Maybe they're not looking for kitchen utensils. Maybe they are looking for forks that have teaspoons at the end. I mean, you have no clue really what people are looking. So at this point, you have no clue which one is the right or the wrong one. Do the market research. See what people are looking for. Then take about 10 of those and test them. You know, launch a blog and add maybe an affiliate or AdSense and start driving those test sites for whatever the market's telling you. And once you see of the 10 which one are buying, which is a potential possibility of being successful, then you run with it. But at this stage, it is impossible to know which one is going to be a winner. And that goes back to the original statement. You have to test. 8 are going to crash. 1 is going to probably break even, and you're going to find that gold nugget. And do it in micro niches so that you understand which one is the gold nugget, and you can do it in a very short time, like 3 to 6 months.
Absolutely. Now, how long before launching your business should you start maybe tweeting and blogging? It depends.
Well, no, actually, it doesn't depend. You actually tweet and blog about. You try to become a market leader before you even think about a product. if you go back to my blog, to my Twitter, to whatever it is, I've been around for about a year and a half now. I made it to the top 30 women, female entrepreneurs to follow on Twitter in 3 months after I launched my Twitter account, after my whatever. I hadn't sold anything. I didn't even have a product to sell, except, I obviously had my business. By the time I got to a product, people already knew me. People already understood who I was. They wanted to listen to what I had to say. I have followers. And what have you, even before I started a product. So what you want to do now is you want to start building a brand. You want to start building a person. While you're doing all this research, while you're testing, you do everything at the same time. And slowly you're going to start narrowing, and then your blog posts are going to start, when you start finding that gold nugget, your blog posts are going to start relating more to that. Let me give an example. I remember I launched my test product, the very first one, which is the virtual business dashboard. And in my mind, because I was a virtual business, I called it the virtual business. And as time went by, this is in the early days, I realized a lot of people, when they talk about virtual business, they talk about virtual assistants. And they kept asking me, oh, what kind of virtual assistant services do you offer? And I was really puzzled. Why are they asking me about virtual assistants? It was because my market, when they talk virtual business, they talk virtual business, and I didn't understand that. So I had to readapt completely to my market. Does that make sense, Shauna?
It absolutely
But only by testing
does.
and taking time you can understand that.
Guys, if you really listen to what she's saying, if you guys were here for my 9 p.m. webinar last night when we went through the whole one choice for quilting, it is basically we are talking on the same thing. How did I start that out? I started off a blog saying that's so Shauna, and I talked about my trials and tribulations of my quilting and how I screwed up a quilt sandwich and how I can't sew by hand because of my arthritis, so I'm going to try out this tool. Guess what? It sucked. Look what it did. I now have a quilting frame. I did this. I did this. I did this. I got them to like, know, and trust me, and then I didn't have a product to sell because, well, I wasn't even thinking about that when I started it. But now that I've got this product to sell, now they're coming over, and, it moved. I went from 0 on Facebook to, what am I, almost 700 fan page people that are liking this One Choice for Quilting Facebook fan page within 3 weeks. And it all started with being out there and talking and not selling first. And that's exactly what she's saying too. And I love that. And then the other part of it is, remember how I said how I tested things. How I thought jelly rolls were going to work, and then it turned out that they wanted small pieces of yardages. And it's testing, testing, testing. So maybe that niche we looked at last night, how we did the research process. The big idea was quilting, and then the next idea was to go into pre-cuts. And the whole part of that niche is because every time I made a quilt, everybody would go, Shauna, I don't know where you find the time. Where the heck do you find the time? So I'm thinking, gee, I'm going to help busy moms and grandmothers and all those other people figure out a way to make quilts in 3 hours, because that's how I have to make quilts, because I don't have time. So here's a niche. Make quilts fast. Okay, so now I've got a little niche, how to make quilts quickly for the busy mom and the busy grandmother who can't spend a year making a quilt, because I want to make a beautiful quilt for my son in 3 hours. So now I've got a niche. So now what kind of products am I going to sell? Now I've got to test out these different products. So this is where you're getting into it. Do you see how you keep hearing this stuff over and over again? This is the process of the breakdown. So I'm going to have Jackie explain kind of the same thing with this question. Can you provide examples of some micro niches that you might try testing as part of your 10, maybe using a golf example? And what do these sites look like if there's no product? Blogs, information sites, etc.
Okay. Well, we discussed about the golf. We used news, tournaments. What was it?
We could vlog about all the drama with Tiger Woods. I mean, everybody wanted a piece of that.
That's right. That's right. That's correct. That's absolutely correct. So what you have to do is the first thing this person has to do is start doing the keyword research. And once the keyword research takes place, then the person has to I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank here. Go to Google, get the keywords, do the research, and then just just testing, and slowly they're going to start narrowing down. She's going to realize, the feedback is going to start coming back. I mean, unless you go through this process, it's impossible to really say it. So you can use anything. I mean, anything. I remember the other day somebody asked me about ashtrays. We did an entire market research on ashtrays, and we came out with the most unbelievable stuff. I mean, anything, just about anything in this entire planet that you can think of, you can come out with anything. Just whatever word you type it into the Google keyword tool, you'll see it. I mean, people are searching, and that's where you start.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you know what, guys? I totally screwed up. We are actually like 1 minute away from our next webinar, but I just love talking to you so much that we were just having too much of a good time. So Jackie, you're just going to have to come on the radio show, and so we can finish this conversation, because I think you and I could just talk for hours and hours and hours, and we could help some moms, and we can help. And by saying we can help moms, that means we can help the guys. We can help small business, medium business, corporations, and big franchises too. So I'm going to be in touch, and I'm going to beg you to come on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you.
You're doing such a wonderful job.
Thank you so very much. I really appreciate it.